Well, good evening, folks. It is Sunday afternoon, and it's a good day the Lord has made. Welcome back to the channel, and I welcome all my subscribers. And just like I mentioned in that last video, we were just going to pick up right where we left off. It is time to start bonding fiberglass mat to the floor right here. I want to get these large pieces bonded in, but first, I kind of learned my lesson from that little piece over here that I was kind of battling with up underneath this cap right here. As you may recall, I had a piece that the end of it wanted to curl up. I had a little bit of an issue getting it to lay down, so what I'm going to do to kind of combat that problem is I'm just going to go ahead and unpackage my fiberglass mat, lay it out, try to get those creases and wrinkles ironed out, get that smoothed out as much as I can before I start wetting this down and start wetting down the fiberglass. So in the meantime, we're still working on the deck up here, this forward deck, and I just finished here just a few moments ago bonding the pad for the bow light to the forward end of this piece right here. And as you can see, I've got the fillet bead, the thickened epoxy, the fillet bead there laid in. And so, as I always say, just waiting on this stuff to dry now. And also right here, I've got a couple of pieces here that I made just to kind of brace up the structure underneath. There we go. I made those pieces just to brace up the structure underneath the deck right here, just to give it a little bit more support. And so, same thing, just got to let the epoxy set up. And with that said, I think that is a good point right there to call it a night. I will check back with you folks in the morning. We will see you then. Okay, folks, real quick. These pieces, they're bonded in now, nice and solid. But before I close all this up, before I lay that deck down on there, I need to get in here and finish up my wiring. I need to run the positive and negative cable for the battery. I do have a battery for it. It's not a Group 24 battery. I've got a little lawn and garden, it's a little garden tractor battery. That's enough to run the lights, to run the sump pump or the bilge pump if we ever have to run it. And if I ever decide to put a trolling motor on this boat, a bow mount trolling motor, then I can step up to a 24F, Group 24F battery. But like I said, for now, I'm just going to use a little garden tractor battery, and that'll be sufficient for the lighting. But, like I said, I've got to get in here, finish up the wiring. All right, I'll be back. Okay, folks, the electrical wiring is done, and all I have to do is plug everything in once the deck is bonded in place. Like I said, all I have to do is finish making all the connections. I have my wire harness made up for the trolling motor connection, and of course that harness will run along in here somewhere. It'll connect to the battery right there, and I have my battery connections all made up, and got them enclosed in the loom, in the wire loom, to protect them from chafing. And so, yeah, we're ready. We're ready to bond this piece on. Now, I'm not going to do that today. It's getting a little bit late in the morning. I do have to go to work, and so we're just going to get everything set up for this weekend, and that includes laying down that fiberglass back there. All right, folks, we will see you then. Well, good morning, folks, and I am back, and here shortly I'm going to begin the process of bonding this large piece in place. I'm going to start by scuffing this. I've got it flipped over upside down, and I need to get it scuffed, and then once I get that roughed up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and lay some resin on this surface here and get the epoxy on the structure, and then we'll set her in place. All right, I'll be back when all that is set up and ready to go. Well, all right, here we go. Alright folks, that's where it's going to live. As you saw, I had a little bit of a struggle getting that piece of plywood to lay flat. It did have a little bit of a bow on both sides, but we got it there. The main thing I wanted to make sure of was that I got all these gaps closed up, and I did. So it's on there now nice and flat, and as you have heard me say countless times, all we have to do now is wait for the epoxy to cure, and when that has set up, I will be back. Well, good morning folks, I am back, and the forward deck is now installed. I laid this little filler piece in off camera yesterday, so now we're ready to turn our attention to the fiberglass work back here. So as soon as I get the camera set up, we'll get started on that. I'll see you here in a moment. Okay, so I've got those first two sheets laid in place, and as you probably noticed, it took a lot of resin to get those wet out, but we finally got those two pieces saturated. Now the way I'm doing this, I'm going to stagger these pieces. The next full sheet will lay in on this side right here in between those two, and it's actually going to overlap each one of those pieces by about a ½ inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And what I want to do before I lay this next piece in, I want to sand these edges, just make them nice and smooth to eliminate the chance of getting any air bubbles underneath that piece when I lay it down. And then I'll just cut little smaller pieces to fill in these gaps right here on the sides. And so now all I can do is wait. Got to let that resin set up, and then like I said, I'll come back and sand those edges, and we'll just continue on with this process. We'll see you then. Alright folks, good morning. I'm back for more. This area, it's already wet down. I'm ready to lay down the glass. Okay folks, I'm not quite sure what that discoloration is right there. I am certain that it's not air bubbles, that we don't have any air trapped underneath there. You saw me working resin into that area, and so yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. We'll just have to wait and see when it dries. I'll do a lamination test on it once it sets up, make sure we have good adhesion right there. So with that, we're just going to let her dry. We will see you here after a while. Okay folks, like I said, I was not quite sure why I had that little discoloration right there. It looked like air bubbles underneath the fiberglass, but like I said, I'm pretty certain it's not. So what I did, for peace of mind, I mixed up a tablespoon of resin and poured it directly on there out of the cup. And here in a moment, I'm going to just take my little small 4-inch roller right here and just spread that around so that we don't have a big glob of cured resin right there. Give it a moment to soak through, just to make absolutely certain that it's not air, and then we'll just leave it be. All right, let's check this out. It's kind of hard to do this and hold the camera steady. Just spread that around, lay it down, and it's still there. Like I said, it's either something that was just in that fiberglass mat, some kind of discoloration, just the way the strands overlap, or maybe there was something underneath it in the wood, something like this where you see these little knots. Might be seeing something like that right there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. That might be what we're looking at right there. But as long as it's laminated and it lays down and we don't have a delammed spot right there, we're good. And if it's delammed, well, we'll just have to come out here later on after it's cured, sand it out, and just lay in a little patch piece there. All right, folks, we'll be back. Okay, so I think we've got that figured out, and upon further examination, closer examination I should say, it looked like, well, best way I know to describe it is like when you have a pan of water boiling, and it looks like your air bubbles are coming up off the bottom of the pan, and that's what it looked like right there. It looked like we just had little tiny air bubbles that were just working their way to the surface in those spots. So I just took some resin and just globbed it into that area right there and worked it in with my finger, and that seems to have taken care of it. No more discoloration. All right folks, I'm going to let this fire off. I will see you later. Okay folks, I am back, and that last little section of fiberglass has now fully cured. It's been a few days since I recorded that last segment, but with that said, I am going to have to slam on the brakes right there and go ahead and end this video. I did want to get these last 3 pieces laminated in place before I wrap things up. However, I've had something come up. I'm going to have to go out of town for a few days, and so we'll just pick this up right where I'm leaving off when I get back in town. So with all that said, I do thank every one of you for watching. I thank all my subscribers. God bless each and every one of you, and as I always say, in all things, to Christ be the glory. We will see you next time.